otherwise known as the Crimson Comet.
Brady Fulmer, otherwise known as Lazy Snake.
Prison Mike.
And Jason Call, the Bearded Wonder. Is it just me? I can't see Mike. Not Mike. I can't see Brady.
I can see Brady.
I can see Brady.
Weird.
You can't see me?
I might just. Yeah, you're just blank. I see Mike and Kellen. I can hear you. Oh well.
Weird.
Hopefully our viewers can see you. That's what matters.
I can see you, Brady.
That's all.
I see it. That beautiful face. That beautiful Tiger Woods. I love that you're wearing red in honor of Tiger Woods. I love that.
I guess I am. I didn't even realize it.
You did, dude. I thought that was on purpose because that's what isn't that what a couple golfers did, like Tony Finau and
yeah, there were a ton of them. I don't know how many, but I'd say there was over 10 that wore black and red, because for those of you that don't know, that's what Tiger's every Sunday, every final round, wears straight red. That's kind of his thing, and a bunch of golfers did that to honor him, which is really cool. And I just happened to do it. I didn't even try to do it.
Brady, you're just so in tune with the golf world that's what happened.
Watch, they're gonna want to remake the PGA logo in Tiger's image now.
He didn't die.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
They're gonna watch. Dude, you're so petty about that, man.
He's salty about that still.
He's so salty. He got absolutely destroyed at that argument. He got destroyed at that argument.
I wouldn't say I got destroyed. I just disagreed with you.
All in favor of that Jason got destroyed in that argument, say aye. Aye.
I can't see Brady, so I don't know.
He said I don't.
Apparently our fans can see Brady. Someone.
Yeah, Camden can see us.
Thanks, Camden, for letting us know.
Camden, you're the man. I appreciate it. Camden, that is a shout out to Camden. That's my brother-in-law. He's a stud. He's a lot cooler than I am. Anyways, we are going to dive right into it. For those watching for the first time who are unfamiliar with our show, it's a little bit of sports, a little bit of comedy. Even though we're not really comedians, nor are we sports experts, we're passionate sports fans. Hence the name. Ready? Wait for it. Sports fans. Anyways, we're going to jump into our first topic. I'm not going to introduce it because apparently I have a cap. I'm only allowed to say so much about this topic. They're not going to let me go overboard because I can ramble.
It's only because you've been talking about it all day today.
All right. We'll have Jason introduce the topic.
So, in a move, well, not really a move, it was a free agent deal. J.J. Watt has now signed with the Arizona Cardinals, which now officially makes the Arizona Cardinals the Houston Texans West Division. But Kellen has lots of feelings. I'm excited for J.J. Watt to get a new change of scenery. I read a comment. Actually, Kellen's the one that pointed it out to me. I was kind of surprised J.J. didn't go to a more Super Bowl ready team, but that's my feelings on it.
Ooh,
haters.
All I gotta say is Kellen was so excited that when he saw me in the hallway, he just about tackled me and started yelling J.J. Watt went to the Cardinals.
I almost kissed him.
It was the first thing he said. He about tackled me to the ground. So I knew he was pretty hyped when that happened.
Dang. Yeah, I think.
You know what though? Yeah, go ahead, Brady.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna. I just read your caption. I am not a Gangnam Style addict, but anyways,
you're not a Gangnam Style. You're recovering.
You're a recovering Gangnam Style addict.
Everyone, I'm gonna get through it, but I think that everyone, including myself, really underestimated the relationship that J.J. Watt had with DeAndre Hopkins. feel like that was a big influence for him going to Arizona. When we talked about potential landing spots for J.J. Watt, I don't think any of us brought that up. But now in hindsight, you can kind of see it makes sense that he would end up back to his former superstar teammate in Arizona. So I think it's cool. Good for them.
Can I
Now all they need to get is Deshaun Watson, even though they don't need him.
Okay, so here's the thing. So okay, now we've talked about this whole J.J. Watt deal. Basically, what it came down to was, look, does he still do what he did 5 years ago? No. But is he still very formidable when it comes to playing the game of football? And is he an excellent guy to have in the locker room? And is he an all-time great? And does he have talents and abilities and knowledge that no one else in the NFL currently has? Absolutely. And that is why I am so excited by this pick. Now, don't get me wrong. My expectations aren't to see the J.J. Watt of 5 years ago. I'm not expecting him to have 20 sacks, right? I'm not even expecting him to be, 85% of what he was. What I'm expecting out of J.J. Watt is exactly what we saw out of Ray Lewis a couple years ago, where maybe his body wasn't near the end of his career, his body wasn't exactly what it used to be. He wasn't exactly making the same plays. He wasn't as athletic. He wasn't as quick. But his leadership and his intelligence and the fact that he had really good defensive players around him that were able to take some of the pressure off of him made it so that he was able to just absolutely be the face of that defense and lead them to a Super Bowl. Now, I look at this Arizona Cardinals defense, and honestly, I feel like they have so much potential, right? They have Budda Baker, who, in my opinion, is the best safety in the NFL. They have Chandler Jones, who's going to be coming off of injury. Then they have a guy like Hassan Reddick, who had an amazing year last year. Guys like Devondre Campbell and Jordan Hicks, who were able to show their potential. And now they're bringing in J.J. Watt. The same J.J. Watt who for years in Houston has eaten double teams and who has gotten all the attention of whatever team they are playing. He is going to be on a pass rush that is absolutely dangerous. This is a pass rush that when they're a defensive front, that when they're healthy, they are deadly. And I'll tell you what, I am so excited about this pick, and I think it totally comes down to the fact that I think that the culture in Arizona right now is really good because a lot of players really like playing for Vance Joseph, and a lot of players really enjoy playing for Cliff Kingsbury. And, yeah, I think DeAndre Hopkins being there is a big part of why J.J. Watt decided he was going to go there. And I'm telling you what, him saying he wanted to go to a Super Bowl contender, he must see something in Arizona that makes him think, all right, you know what? These guys are taking a step in the right direction. So those are my thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts?
I was actually going to ask the question. So does this make – I feel personally that it doesn't immediately make it, but does this make the Cardinals a better suited team for a championship? Like, does this make them a contender? I feel like it doesn't, personally. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are.
I don't think this pickup makes them a contender, but I think it makes this defense better.
Yes, I can agree with that.
I think it makes them a playoff team. Maybe not a contender for a Super Bowl, but I think it definitely puts them into the playoffs.
I'm going to agree with you guys. I mean, I feel like the Cardinals' weakness last season was on the defensive end. I mean, that offense was clicking most games. So this will be nice to maybe get Kyler Murray in that offense a few more opportunities per game. I'm not going to get on that hype train saying they're going to be contenders yet. Until Tom Brady and Gronk in Tampa Bay show me something that I'm not seeing, in my book, it's still the Chiefs and the Bucs right now at the top of the league.
Kind of sound like an alien, Jason.
I do.
A little bit. Oh,
a little bit. Anyways, I just have one question, and I honestly, I think that this is it's a 2-year deal. I think it's $23 million like guaranteed. Which my dad actually sent me that. Yeah, thanks, Commissioner. Shout out. Anyways, 23 million guaranteed. I think ultimately what it comes down to is they want to win games now. I'm kind of excited to see what they'll do in this offseason because I feel like they have some pieces to be a really dangerous team and a really competitive team in that division and even in the conference when it comes down to it. Another thing is I'm kind of wondering now that J.J. Watt has signed with Arizona, is Larry Fitzgerald going to consider coming back for another season? Because right now nobody knows.
Has he announced that he's retired?
No, he isn't. He hasn't. He hasn't made an announcement. Nobody knows. But knowing that a guy like J.J. Watt's coming, another veteran who is going to be way fun to have on the team, and knowing that the Cardinals are committed to winning games now, is he going to say, you know what, like I'm still playing at a high enough level, I'm going to come back for one more season? What are you guys' thoughts?
Well, my question is he though? Like, I don't know. I feel like he's obviously an amazing receiver, but does he really have that big of an impact on the Cardinals offense if he comes back?
Yes. He really does.
I think that he plays a similar role to the role that you just kind of described that JJ would play at. They're both kind of in similar situations. Obviously, Larry Fitzgerald's a little bit older, but I feel like he kind of has a confidence, a veteran presence in the receivers room with a bunch of young receivers around him, like Andy Isabella, Christian Kirk, guys like that he can kind of mentor there. And I feel like he's just a reliable target for Kyler Murray to find on third, just a possession receiver. So I feel like he obviously doesn't make as big impact as he has made throughout his career, but I feel like he still has room left to help the Cardinals out. So I think he'll be back next year, especially with J.J. Watt. I think he'll see this is maybe his chance to have in the league.
Here's the thing, and with guys that are that good when they get older, you don't see when J.J. Watt and Larry Fitzgerald, and even now you look at certain players, like you have to pay attention to them on every play, right? Now I don't think J.J. Watt and Larry Fitzgerald are at that point in their careers anymore. You don't really have to pay attention to J.J. Watt the whole game. You don't really have to pay attention to Larry Fitzgerald the whole game. But you sure as heck can't forget that they're there because they still have the ability to make plays. It's a lot of it just comes down to football IQ and experience. And so while maybe they're not the threat they used to be, they're still a threat, and you can't forget about them. Another point I want to bring up, can I just say, like, sometimes these players, they make these big deals out of when they go to new teams. I love how – did you guys see how J.J. Watt announced it?
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah. So for those who didn't see it, he just posted a picture on Twitter of him doing squats, and he had an Arizona Cardinal shirt on, and then it said like "sources me," and that was it. Like that's how he announced it, man. Brady sent it to me. I got the text from Brady before it even got onto ESPN. So Brady is an insider, all right? I'm telling you what, Brady Guy Fulmer is on top of this crap.
I got you.
Oh, man.
Come to me with all your sports news. I'll get it to you before ESPN does.
By the way, for anybody who's wondering, I'm eating peppers.
I actually was wondering that, so thank you for clarifying. It looked a little weird. They were like.
Here's a question. Okay. What do I have in my hand? Both hands.
I thought they were Cheetos.
So we have a pepper.
Cheetos.
Oh.
I'm colorblind, so orange and yellow are kind of hard.
Anyways, I think that's it for that topic. Did you guys have anything else you want to say?
Nope. Other than I'm surprised, Kellen, you were able to wrap it up. And oh, sorry, Brady, go ahead.
Oh no, I was about to say the exact same thing that you did. I was just surprised Kellen didn't say more.
It's like I'll tell you what.
I'm surprised Jason didn't give us a pitch of why J.J. Watt should have went to the Broncos instead of the Cardinals. But
I'm surprised Jason
it's
wasn't
his choice, but I wanted to see him go win a Super Bowl, and he wasn't going to do that with the Broncos, let's be honest.
I'm surprised Jason wasn't like, I'm surprised the Cardinals picked up J.J. Watt when they could have gotten former BYU star Ezekiel Ansah. Now,
Hey,
BYU
if he's available, go get him.
Go get him. I like it.
Over J.
Anyways,
I feel bad. We give Jason a lot of crap. Sorry, Jason.
No,
I can take it, Mike. I'm all right.
Okay.
I dish it.
I think it's interesting though. Like Arizona's figuring out ways to get good players to come there. Like last year was a trade with DeAndre Hopkins, but not only he loves the culture in Arizona. He'll be he talks about all the time how much he loves the coaching staff and how it's such a better atmosphere than the one he had in Houston. So like I'm happy with what Arizona is able to do to keep their players happy and to get people there.
Especially without winning Super Bowls.
Especially without winning Super Bowls.
All right. I've had too much fun. So let's move on to the NBA, guys. There's a few things going on. Number one, the Hawks firing their head coach. I just browsed over that story, so I'm not the one to really give much of an opinion. Mike, do you want to take it away for us there?
I actually think Brady recommended this one, so I'll let him do it. Because to tell you the truth, when I've watched a few of the Hawk games, I see their head coach and I have no clue who it is. So I'll let Brady take this one over.
Fair enough.
See, and I was kind of in the same boat as Mike. I feel like a lot of people don't know. The Hawks head coach's name was Lloyd Pierce, and I'm not exactly sure how long he's been with the Hawks. I glanced over that. This is at latest his second year with the Hawks. He hasn't been there too long. And
Lloyd Pierce. It's Christmas.
What?
Lloyd Christmas.
I got you.
But
yeah, so Lloyd Pierce, the Hawks recently fired him, and I feel like this comes as no surprise to anyone. The Hawks have been bad for a few years now, and I feel like they have talent in Atlanta. Obviously they have Trae Young, a bright young guy who puts up a lot of points. They have John Collins, who flies under the radar. He puts up over 20 a lot of nights. And so I feel like they have the potential there. They just don't quite have the fit in Atlanta, but I don't think this comes as any surprise to anyone. So Lloyd Pierce is out of there. And as far as I know, they haven't named who the replacement or interim coach will be yet.
Mm-mm.
They have.
They have?
The interim coach will be Nate McMillan, who actually has been a head coach. He's coached 16 years as a head coach. He used to coach for Seattle and then Portland and later Indiana. So they actually got a really good interim head coach, considering the fact that sometimes teams are left pretty flat-footed when their head coach is let go. The Hawks suck,
I'm interested to see if they keep him as the head coach or if they look for a new person. Because I was trying to think through some options, and I can't really think of anyone who could, any good coaches right now that are on the market, that they could pick up.
And it's hard to find a coach in the middle. Not to look for one, really.
Yeah, and that's the thing is. Oh, go ahead, Jason.
What I was going to say is, if you're stepping into that job, we've talked about this before. When you pick up a team halfway through a season, it's nice because the pressure to win isn't there yet. But I like it because it kind of gives the Hawks the ability to maybe tank this season and have a good excuse to do it, and then go picks up one more piece in the draft this season, and then hire a coach that can fit all those pieces. Is that the strategy there? I don't know, but if it is, it's kind of smart.
Here's the thing, though, is they don't even really need to tank. They don't have a great record, but they're only 2 games behind the 8th seed in the East. The East is really weak this year. I mean, you could potentially tank, but at the same time, if you can get some momentum and put together a string of wins, you're in playoff position, at least in this point of the season. So I really don't see how upgrading a assistant to head coach is going to really change your team philosophy a whole lot. And in the NBA, I feel like it's just like unless you completely change the system you're running, you're not going to see drastic differences. I just don't see that happening with assistant.
Unless there were player and coach relationship issues, which I hadn't heard of any in this situation. But sometimes just getting a coach that players don't like out of there helps.
Yeah, and it kind of came.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it kind of came as a shock. I just was reading through the article, and they said that he actually had the practice with them today. Like, he practiced with the team today, and then he got fired. Like, it kind of was a shock to everyone. So I don't know if he had problems with the team or if the GM didn't like how the practice went or what. But something was off today, I guess.
Wow.
Well, and Pierce and McMillan, I guess, are really good friends still. And Pierce is like super supportive of him, of McMillan, and so I think there's a good relationship there. Pierce said he had no indication that he thought he was in trouble after their last loss. So I think it came as a surprise to the whole organization ultimately.
I'm sure we'll get more on that in the coming week or so.
I don't know. It seems like a pretty clean break, though.
We'll see.
That's very true. But anyways, I think that's enough about that. Moving on to the next segment, and I actually brought this one up too. Lamelo Ball, he's someone that we've all known about for a long time. Longer than he's been in the NBA. But I just wanted to kind of bring to attention how well he's playing this year. I think a lot of us, myself included, haven't really been paying attention to what Lamelo Ball's been doing. But I saw a stat today that since he has been starting, which has been a few weeks now, he's averaging 20 points a game, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, and like a steal and a half a game, which are crazy numbers for an NBA player to put up, and let alone a rookie. And I just think it's incredible what he's doing. I feel like for some reason, I don't know how this is, he's not getting the recognition that he deserves, which he's a Ball brother, so I don't know how that's possible. But you see highlights occasionally, makes a flashy pass, but no one's talking about the numbers that he's putting up and how well he's playing this year.
I think a lot of that, Brady, has to do because it's not translating into wins. I mean,
they're in a playoff position.
It kind of is, though. They're playing better than they have in the past.
They're playing better this year than they did last. They're definitely an improved team with him on the.
But if you're a team in the East and you're not the Nets right now, who's talking about you?
Sixers.
The Celtics. Everyone's talking about them. Why they're so bad. Trying to figure out what's the matter.
Yeah, for real. No, and here's my thing though. Like, I'm kind of wondering if LeVar Ball hadn't been banned by ESPN, we would hear a lot more about it. Like that's the thing is, like, if LeVar Ball hadn't been a creep on First Take a couple years back, we would know about LaMelo. He'd be like, my boy LaMelo never lost.
And maybe that's what it is people are afraid to give him attention because it is the Balls and they don't want to poke the bear.
6 rebounds. My boy's going to be MVP.
But I kind of feel bad for LaMelo in that sense because his dad and his older brother made such a big splash and such commotion that I think people just kind of got sick of the Ball brothers. And, Alonzo's a decent player, but he's not great. And now you got one who's finally a very good player in the NBA. And I think people are just so sick of that family that they're just kind of not talking about him just because they're sick talking about the Ball name. So I kind of feel bad for him just because he had to follow his dad and Lonzo into the league.
Yeah, like I definitely agree with Brady right there. I mean, you look at his dad, who's a huge talker, talked a bunch. And then you have Lonzo, who everyone was so hyped on, and he got into the league. And he wasn't a bust, but he hasn't been what everyone thought he was going to be. He wasn't Showtime like his dad was claiming and everything like that. And then you look at the second brother who got kicked off of suspended from UCLA for shoplifting. Like that whole problem.
Jello?
Yeah.
Jello?
I don't even remember. Is it Leangelo? Yeah,
Leangelo.
Big
Leangelo.
word. It's a big word.
Leangelo. And then Lonzo just didn't. Not Lonzo. Lamelo didn't go to college. Just went overseas. So he kind of got lost behind the bad reputation of his brothers, and now he, like Brady says, he's playing really well in the NBA. And there's no one even close to him right now for Rookie of the Year. He's blowing everyone out of the water.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is LaMelo's better right now than Lonzo has ever been, right? I mean, the way he plays, the numbers he's putting up, he's so much better than Lonzo's ever been. But the sad thing is, I kind of feel bad for Lonzo too because their dad really did not do them any favors when it came to publicity because he set the bar so high that it became bad publicity. And he really kind of threw Lonzo under the bus. When Lonzo wasn't putting up all-star-like numbers, he became a joke, right? And people started to mock him, and he basically threw his kid under the bus. And this year, Lonzo actually has been playing decent. Lonzo hasn't been playing terrible. He's averaging almost 15. He's averaging, over 5 assists a game. He's playing this year the best basketball of his career. He's not as good as LaMelo, but at the same time, I just feel bad for Lonzo because he's going to be remembered as the Ball brother who made it to the NBA and was just this huge bust. Where he hasn't been terrible. He hasn't been better than Jordan, right? And that's the bar that
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for the LeVar Michael one-on-one game.
Oh, how he gonna guard me? Never lost.
At least those two are above their brother Lil Hands, who can't get away with shoplifting. So
yeah, at least they didn't get cut by the Pistons like Leangelo did. So
yeah, he needs to change his hand to Lil Hands. His name to Lil Hands.
We all know that. We all know that Leangelo would lead the NBA in steals. All right, so
I kind of wish I could name my kids like the Ball kids, though. They just put the word "la" in front of whatever syllables they want, and it becomes a name at that point.
Mellow, Jello, and have you guys ever heard of the other Ball brother, Ladicki?
I'm pretty sure that was fake.
Yeah. For anybody who's wondering, look up on YouTube the third Ball brother, Ladicki, the world-class rapper. It's worth your time, I promise.
He's a funny rapper.
Kellen, I just saw my banner. You are so bitter.
About what?
Just bitter.
He loses most sports arguments.
Captions don't lie, friends.
You're so bitter.
No, I think it's I think LaMelo Ball has been a pleasant surprise, and I've rooted for him, man. But I'll tell you what, him taking the route that he did, I think, worked out for him. That is one thing I could say about LeVar Ball. I think that him putting LaMelo through what he did actually helped him become a way better basketball player by playing professionally overseas and in hostile environments, and then in Australia last year. I think he was really prepared when it came to time to play in the NBA. I mean, we see it a lot now. These foreign players that have been stars in these leagues against these professionals, they go to the NBA and they play at a level that's a lot more mature than that of a lot of these college kids. So yeah, I've been really impressed so far with him. So. Should we move on to the next topic? We'll let Mike go into that.
Awesome. So our next topic is moving on to college basketball. And this is going to be a fun topic. I think this will have some good ideas. But what is the conference tournament that you guys are most excited for? So I guess we'll start with Jason. This was kind of his idea.
Can't be the West Coast Conference.
What? Why? Oh, no. I wasn't going to say West Coast. I thought you said Mountain West. No, I'm actually excited for
Are
the
you-
Mountain West Conference tournament this year, guys. I really am. I think there's 2 or 3 teams that have a shot at taking it this season. Utah State, San Diego State. I even saw some guys picking Colorado State to win it this year, which I thought was interesting. So I'm intrigued to see how that one goes. I've got a couple other ones, but I won't talk about them. I'll let you guys.
Actually, go ahead. Give us like your top 2. We'll go top 2.
Okay, the other one, I'm just intrigued to see how the ACC plays out this year. It's kind of that conference is kind of on its head right now. Just teams trying to figure out what they want to look like this season. Anybody that wins that conference, it wouldn't surprise me that they won it, but there's a few teams out there that could take it this season.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I'll go next just because, I share some similar thoughts. I was actually going to pick the ACC just because I look at Florida State, Virginia, and Virginia Tech. Those are the 3 top teams in that conference. I can't really say I can pick a favorite in this tournament because I feel like right now North Carolina or Duke or Syracuse, they could get going in the tournament and blow all those teams out, not just win all those games close. I think Duke, North Carolina, and for example, Georgia Tech or Syracuse have shown us that, they're not terrible teams. Maybe the chemistry isn't there yet. Maybe they haven't figured it out. But I'm telling you what, those teams are dangerous. And I think that the ACC is a lot closer than people realize in terms of talent. And even if you look at all their overall records, it is so razor thin. The lead that these teams hold over these top teams hold over the other teams that could be a really interesting tournament. And then, of course, I'm really intrigued by the Big 12 conference. I think the Big 12 this year might be the best conference in basketball. It probably is, just because you got Baylor, West Virginia, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Texas, and Texas Tech that are all in the top 20. That is going to be an absolute slugfest. That is going to be some high-quality basketball. And I'll tell you what, I think that if one of these Big 12 conference teams can come out of the Big 12 conference tournament with momentum after having won all those games, they're going to be so dangerous come tournament time because they're going to have to go through a gauntlet to get there, and they're going to have momentum on their side. So those are a couple
and Kellen, to build on that, though, this last weekend in the Big 12 made that tournament more interesting in my eyes.
Interesting
with Oklahoma State knocking off, and then Kansas knocking off Baylor. I mean, I agree with you. That'll be a fun one to watch.
Mm-hmm. Well, you look at a team like Texas Tech. They're 7-7 in conference play, but they're 15-8 overall. They've only lost to teams that are in their conference, but they're 6 in that conference right now, and they're 18th in the country. That just goes to show how tough the Big 12 is right now, and honestly, the Big 12 might be turned into a basketball conference if they're not careful, if their football teams don't pick it up, because the last couple of years, the Big 12 has been super competitive.
Yeah. So sure.
Mike, what are your thoughts? Oh, Brady, you go.
Oh, I can go next. I was having some technical difficulties, and I missed most of what Kellen said, but hopefully I don't copy him too much. The conference tournament that I'm most excited for, I'm going to have to go with Jason. I'm going to go with the Mountain West. I feel like Jason, there's a lot of teams that could win it. You got Boise State, San Diego State, Utah State, maybe even Colorado State. And I'm a team when it comes to college sports, but I always find myself basketball for whatever reason following Utah State the most. So I know last podcast I said that Utah State was going to win it, and I stand by that. I think Utah State's going to come away with the Mountain West. It's a pretty bold prediction, but I got a feeling they're going to make it 2 years in a row.
He's got a feeling.
That's not a bad pick. I'm going to obviously the ACC is one that I'm pretty much always interested in, but you guys have covered that really well. So I'll skip that, and I'm agreeing with Kellen on this. I think the Big 12 and the Big 10, the past few years, they've been a lot of fun to watch. I mean, I wasn't here for, I guess, 2 years, but when I was in high school, I always really liked watching the Big 12 and the Big 10 conference championships because they have some competitive teams. And Kellen's already covered a decent amount of the Big 12. Like you said, there's some really good teams in there that if they get enough momentum, like they can come out of there playing really well going into March Madness. And then the Big 10 is pretty solid this year as well. I was just looking at the standings. You have Michigan, who's number 2 in the country, Illinois, who's number 4, Iowa, who is at number 5, Purdue, who's 23, Ohio State, who is 7, and Wisconsin, who's 25. And then also you have Indiana, who's right now currently trying to fight to get into March Madness, and Michigan State, which, I mean, they haven't looked that great this year, but Michigan State has an amazing head coach in Tom Izzo. So you feel like when it comes down to conference championships, he's always going to be coming up with something. So I think the Big 10 and the Big 12 this year are both going to be really interesting, fun conference championships to watch.
I do have a question for you guys, though, and this actually we weren't originally going to talk about it, but while I've got Mike here, how much better, or when you compare all these top teams from the Big 10, the Big 12, where do they stand when it comes to Gonzaga? How competitive would these teams be if they had to face off against the mighty Zags? I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Mike, why don't you go first, and then I want to hear from Jason and then from Brady.
That is a good question, but here's what I'd say. If Gonzaga had to face every other day in March Madness, we'll say every game that they're in, if they had to go through Michigan, Ohio State, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Gonzaga would lose a game. I don't think they could get away winning all 5 of those. All teams like that. But with March Madness, if Gonzaga only has to match up against 1 or 2 of those teams, I think they could come away with the win. So mainly it all depends on how the tournament goes. Gonzaga is the best team in the country, as they've shown this year. But if they end up having to play a Baylor and then a Michigan on different games, that would be tough. There's a good chance, I think, of them losing one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
The beauty for the Zags, though, is the way their conference tournament's set up. They only have to play a maximum of 2 games for their conference championship. I mean, they play their semifinal and then they play a final. So, I mean, the West Coast Conference is kind of just set up for Gonzaga's success. And there's a reason we see them in the tournament year after year after year after year. It's almost like back when they created that conference, they're like, okay, well, let's just do this for the Zags because they're the only ones that are going to make the tournament for us anyway. And adding BYU and having St. Mary's has kind of just been a little bit of icing for them. But let's be honest, the West Coast Conference is built for Gonzaga.
Is Gonzaga going to play then in their conference championship?
It sounds like it, yeah.
And Jason, you make a really good point, though. They're going to be rested. They could very well be super rested going into the tournament. Some of these, obviously,
until the start of the NCAA tournament, they play 2 games.
Yeah. Well, and it's not there's a very good possibility that those 2 games are blowouts in their favor. There's a very good possibility. So, yeah, I like that. I think that
as much as it hurts me to admit it, I think you're right there.
Yeah. Whereas, a team like Michigan or a team like Duke or, a team like Texas, they're all going to have to go through an absolute gauntlet in order to win that conference. And so, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then one more story, Mike. Why don't you talk about this? The NIT. What is going on with the NIT right now?
So this was just a topic I saw on ESPN. It's nothing that major because I feel like most of us don't ever pay attention to the NIT. But the NIT is usually. Do you pay attention, Jason?
I do, because BYU is usually on the bubble, so
Okay.
I
All right.
watch
Well,
the NIT.
they're changing up the NIT a little bit this year. Usually, there's 32 teams for the bracket, and this year they've sized it down to just 16, and they're going to play all of it.
And they're playing all in one city.
Yeah, in Texas, somewhere in Texas. So
I think it's DFW if I read right.
Okay, so it's not a huge change up, but it just, I don't know, it's going to make it maybe a little bit more competitive, and we'll see if Duke doesn't make March Madness, would they play in the NIT, or would a Kentucky or some of those bigger name teams, maybe if Indiana doesn't get in, I don't know if they go to the NIT or not, but it's just something to look at, I guess.
There is a little bit of pressure there, though, if you think about it. These teams that are almost perennial NIT teams aren't guaranteed a spot this year. So if they want to play postseason, they need to show up at their conference tournaments and ball out. It's playing after your conference tournament isn't guaranteed this year for a lot of teams like it usually is.
And can I be honest about my opinion?
Yeah.
I think the NIT is such a joke. I think they have two tournaments. They have the NIT and the CBI. I think both of those tournaments are jokes. And this is obviously coming from a guy who the most athletic thing I did today was walk my dog. But it's basically all right, none of you guys are even in the top 64 teams in the country. None of you guys are even that good.
Yeah, but there's always the team that got snubbed out of the tournament that kind of can go into the NIT and prove a little bit.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I just think it's so lame.
It is kind of lame, but it's also nice for smaller schools. I mean, we go to a community college,
they have
their own tournament. I know they have one tournament, but there's so many Division I basketball teams. I think there's over 300 and something.
Yeah, which is true. But I just feel it's basically all right, this is you guys were the best of the not good schools, I just don't think
I don't love that though, Kellen, because that's like saying if you didn't make it into a New Year's Six bowl in college football, your bowl game doesn't matter either.
You can still be a top 25 team and not be in the New Year's Six.
That's true. I'm just saying, when there's 300 college teams, if you're in the top 150, you're better than half the nation.
I just don't find that impressive.
Well, I've seen good basketball come out of the NIT, so I disagree that it's definitely not the same level as the regular tournament, but it's good basketball still. It's fun to watch.
What about you, Brady? What are your thoughts on this?
What are Brady's thoughts?
Okay, so my thoughts, I'm okay that they have it. I think that it's a great thing, but it's not something that I would really ever be interested in watching. So nothing that really appeals to me, but good for them. It gives some of this, like Mike said, there's a lot of schools and it gives them a chance to keep playing. So good for them, but I'm not interested at all.
I just think it's more of
the big one.
It's more of an attaboy than it is a competitive tournament,
Yeah.
It is though, but I've been a fan of the team.
You have an opportunity to win a tournament in front of hundreds of spectators on TV.
Yeah, but I look at it, Kellen. You look at it, the Mountain West Conference
dozens
this year.
Of fans in the stands.
Okay, Kellen, but you have a conference like the Mountain West Conference. If they take more than 2 teams out of the Mountain West Conference for the tournament this year, I'll be surprised. But that third best team in the conference, I'll be surprised. Okay, but that third best team in the conference is still a good team. I think they deserve to play for something. And if anything, it just helps those programs give their teams a little more experience against not so much top tier competition, but that next level.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think it's almost, for me, it just seems like glorified scrimmage. And then they have the CBI, which is if you don't get into the NIT, you can go play in the CBI, and it's okay.
Yeah, I don't care about the CBI. I'm glad they play it, but I've never watched it.
I remember Wyoming won the CBI a couple years back, and it was I can't really be proud of to be from Wyoming in this case.
But look at it this way: in college football, is it you get a bowl game if you win over 8 games? Is that what it is?
If
So
you
how
have a
many
winning
teams?
season.
If you have a winning
How
season,
many of you guys watched the famous Idaho Potato Bowl?
if BYU's in it,
If BYU's in
I've
it.
watched that game.
So I mean, in college football, they give the teams, if they get over 8 wins, a chance to play for
Over
something.
500. You don't even have to get 8 wins.
They just have to have a
they
winning
just have
season.
they just have to have a winning season.
Okay, so yeah, just over a winning season, and that's in college football, and none of us watch the bowl games.
I think they
There's
have
no-
too many bowl games, quite frankly. I do.
I agree.
I agree. They have
What they're
too
doing
many
in
bowl
college
games.
football, they're just trying to give people a chance to play, and I feel like it's the same thing in college basketball. They're trying to give people a chance to play and do something, feel good about their season. Because if you look at a team like North Dakota State, they have a good football program, they have a good quarterback, and they are not ever gonna make a New York Six Bowl.
Well, that's because they don't play in FBS, Mike.
Guys,
Yeah, Mike.
but it's you realize
We'll
it's
explain it
all
later.
about this though. It's all about this. Without the NIT, those teams that don't make the regular bracket don't make any of this. It's true. And that's why it's there. It's to help those schools that are on the verge at least make something extra on their seasons, fundage wise. And that's why we have so many bowl games. Those colleges need the money to keep their programs alive.
Yeah. I say win or go home.
Yep.
Win or go home.
Well, if that was the case, then it'd be Alabama and Clemson in college football at that point.
That's true. Win or go home.
Roll Tide.
Anyways, we're gonna move on, guys. We're gonna talk about UFC 259. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, guys. Look, guys. This is the best UFC card that I, as a fan, have ever seen in my life, which is not very long as a UFC fan. But let me just tell you, there are 3 championship fights. We're gonna get to one of them. We're gonna talk about one of them tonight. But let me just talk about this card, and I'm not just talking about the main card. I'm gonna start off with the prelims. In the prelims, there's a flyweight bout between Rogerio Bontorin and Kai Kara France, 2 top 10 fighters in the flyweight division. Then the number 2 and number 3 ranked flyweight fighters, Askar Askarov, Joseph Benavidez, will fight. And then in the bantamweight, Song Yadong, who's the number 14 in the bantamweight division, will fight Kyler Phillips. And then former UFC champion, bantamweight champion Dominic Cruz is fighting Casey Kenny to end the prelims. Guys, Dominic Cruz, one of the greatest UFC fighters ever, is fighting in the prelims of this stacked card. Guys, that blows my mind.
Quick question: do you have to pay for the prelims? Is that the one that starts at 8, or is that the one that starts at 6?
That starts at 6.
Do they start at 6 or 5?
It might be 5 because they have early prelims and they have prelims.
Yeah. But that's just crazy to me. I've been watching some Cruz highlights the past couple days, and that dude is insane. That'll be a good fight that you can watch for free.
He's incredible. And then this is the card, the main card, and we're going to dissect the championship card for the bantamweight title bout. But let's talk about the number 2 contender, lightweight contender, Thiago Santos. He's kicking off the main card with Alexander Rakic, the number 4 contender. So we're talking about a division right now where Jan Blachowicz is fighting for a title. Whoever wins this fight is going to get a title shot probably right after, right? There's a very good chance. Then in the lightweight division, Islam Makhachev is going to be fighting Drew Dober, the number 14th and the number 15th ranked lightweights. A lot of people are seeing Islam Makhachev as potentially the next Khabib Nurmagomedov. And now we're going to do our preview on the bantamweight title bout between Peter Yan, the undisputed bantamweight champion of the world, and Aljamain Sterling. Now, this is enough of a this fight is incredible, and it on its own could probably be a UFC pay-per-view main event. And yet, these guys are the third fight in this main card. They are the middle fight on this card. But I want to hear what you guys' thoughts are of this fight. And I want to, first of all, what are your guys' reactions to this card, the prelims and then the main card so far? Brady?
I think that the fights that are coming up on Saturday have been hyped enough for me. Just that Israel Adesanya, Amanda Nunes is fighting. Those are the two names that I really knew. But then looking at the prelims and some of the fights before that, as you really dissect them and look into them, they make it even more exciting, which I didn't think that was even possible before I really looked into the prelims. But it's going to be the greatest night of UFC that I've seen, for sure, hands down. So super pumped for the fight. Can't even put it into words.
Yeah.
And sorry, let me answer the question. I just saw a question pop up I'm going to butcher that, but my red, I guess, in a way is a tribute to Tiger. It wasn't meant to be that way, but it kind of worked out that way. Whoever commented.
That's what it was.
I don't know if that's Basher or Bashar, but
Bashar Teg.
I think it's Bashar.
Teg. Thanks.
But thank you, Bashar. Anyways, yeah. Jason, why don't you go next? And then we'll go Mike, and I'll talk.
I am excited about this Peter Yan fight. Peter Yan can be more of a striker, where Sterling's more of a grappler. So it'll be two different kind of styles. You look at strike percentage and takedown percentage and everything. I'm intrigued. I'm relatively new to UFC, so I like seeing the differing styles in fighting put together sometimes. And with two fighters that like to fight in that drastically different of a way, it'll be interesting to see who can control the fight and who pulls it out in the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike.
Oh, I'm kidding.
Wow.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
If you fall asleep at our party next weekend, I'm going to paint your face.
So disappointed.
I don't. The thing is I've never even heard these names before the show. So Peter Yang, I have no clue who he is, and I don't even remember the other guy's name.
Did you say Yang?
Is that not his last name?
Can I ask if you guys are doing that on your screen on purpose, like giving yourself fist bumps next to each other right there?
What?
Mike, fist bump.
Oh,
No, other side. It's reversed. Yeah, that's our new thing. Bang. All right. Sorry.
Okay. No, but if we're being real, I just don't know that much about it. Like when they announced the fight, the only people I've ever heard of on this card is Amanda Nunes and Israel Adesanya. And I think Stipe. I've heard of him.
He's on.
I can't remember his name.
He's on one in the future.
He's not on this card.
Darn it. Who's the one fighting in the heavyweight? Who's fighting? No, the heavyweight doesn't fight this show. Okay. See how much I know about UFC. Like
that's okay. We'll get him there, guys.
We'll get him there.
Last Saturday we were watching a UFC fight at Kellen's, and I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan.
He's just like, I feel bad for these guys. Like whenever they get hit,
wasn't even going to be able to walk. They were going to have to amputate his leg. It was so beat up.
That is not true.
I feel for him.
That's not true.
Guys, do you know what video is on Prime Video right now for free?
Warrior.
What's that?
Warrior. I watched that for the first time last night. Oh my goodness.
Did your wife love it?
She didn't watch it with me. She's going to have to watch it some other time.
She's going to be so
She
mad
went to bed early. But no, that I will watch that show again happily. It was a great movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Mike,
I'm gonna.
Have you seen it? Okay, go watch that movie and then you'll get it.
Jason, we got to move on, buddy.
I'm sorry.
You saw a squirrel. Anyways, okay. I've actually been kind of researching this today because I wanted to know a little bit more about these fighters. Believe it or not, it's not even Peter. It's Piotr Yan, and he's from Russia. And when you look at these two fighters, like Jason said, drastically different styles. Yan is definitely more of a striker. He wins 47% of his fights have been by KO or TKO, whereas Aljamain Sterling has only won 11%. He is an incredible wrestler, though. You look at his grappling ability. And then, Jason, you're the one who talked about Corey Sandhagen. You watched him fight a couple weeks ago. Aljamain Sterling submitted him in 1 minute and 28 seconds in the first round. The way he steamrolled past Sandhagen, I watched that fight, it made me realize how in jeopardy Peter Yan is of losing his bantamweight belt this week. Because Aljamain Sterling is the real deal. And Piotr Yan has yet to fight somebody that has the style of Sterling. He has yet to go up against a excellent grappler and somebody who has incredible submission ability. I mean, you look at some of the submissions that Sterling has pulled on his opponents, it is absolutely flooring. And he's won 5 fights in a row. He's the #1 contender in a division that, Max Holloway right now, a lot of people are talking about him and him making another run at the belt. I'm really excited to see what happens in the bantamweight division. But I'll tell you what, looking at this fight, this is going to be a very good fight, and I'm actually really excited for it. So I think
before we move on, Kellen, just to hammer this point home, stats that jumped off the screen to me on this. Of Piotr's, it's PETR, so I'm just going to say Peter, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. 15-1-0, 7 KOs, and 1 submission, where Sterling, 19-3-0, 2 KOs, 8 submissions. So you can just see from that stat right there how different these guys are going to approach this fight. It's going to be really, like I said, I'm really intrigued by this one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Any more thoughts, Brady? Do you have any thoughts before we go to our predictions?
I honestly don't have any thoughts other than what you guys have said. You guys have covered it. Going to be awesome.
Okay, hit us with your prediction on this one.
Ooh. My prediction, I'll start it off. I think I'm gonna go with Aljamain Sterling. I feel like we're gonna see the belt change a little bit there, and I agree with you. I just feel like Aljamain Sterling, he'll be able to get Peter Yan to the ground, and I think he's going to submit him.
I like it. Jason, what are your thoughts?
So I want to go that way as well, but with Jan's striking ability, it just takes 1 or 2 shots. And I kind of want this fight to have Yan to win that fight because I think that opens more of a path for Sandhagen Yan, and I'd really like to see that fight. So I'm going to pick Yan for now.
Yeah. Mike, do you want to make a guess, bud?
Yeah, that's what mine is going to be, is an educated guess, because I really have no clue. But I'll go with – I think I'm going to stick with Jason on this one. I'm going to go with Yan. I don't know. I agree with what he said about as far as striking. Like, from the few UFC fights I've watched, I know submissions are a big thing, but I've never really seen anyone who's been able to get a good submission on so far. I feel like it's a lot harder to submit someone, to get them on the ground and submit them, than it is for you to get 2 good strikes and knock them out. So I'm going to go with Yan as well. Peter Yan.
Yeah. So first of all, First of all, Sandhagen isn't the front runner for that next title shot. It'll definitely be Max Holloway. But I'm actually going to agree with Brady. I'm actually going to go with Aljamain Sterling. After I watched film on both of them, I'll tell you what, Aljamain Sterling right now is fighting at an unreal level. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if there is as good of a submission artist in the UFC as Aljamain Sterling. The way that he absolutely dominated a guy like Corey Sandhagen, who, let's remember, is a phenomenal fighter, just goes to show the ability that this guy has. And is he the most powerful, puncher? No, definitely not. Like, he's probably not going to win this fight by knockout. But the guy's got a chin on him, and he's got incredible endurance, and I think he's going to be able to put Jan away. It might come down to a decision, but I actually think there's a really good possibility we see him submit Jan. So I'm actually going to go with Aljamain Sterling on this one. And, yeah, he'll be fighting Max Holloway here soon.
Awesome.
So, yeah. That's how it works. Anyways, we are out of time. Next show, we will actually be talking about we'll be previewing the Amanda Nunes, Megan Anderson fight, as well as the Jan Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya fight. So that's something to look forward to. Thank you for everyone who commented. Camden, Bashar, and then got to give a shout out to Mr. Kelly Fulmer.
Thanks, Brady's dad.
It is a good movie. It is a great movie.
I don't understand that comment at all, but
I think
watch the movie.
I did get a little sidetracked. I'm sorry.
I want
Mike to watch it.
I vote next show on probably on Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not sure what day we're doing it. I vote we have like a 10-minute section where Jason tells us all the food that he's going to be making.
You know what? I bought a bunch of food on Saturday. I can totally do that, except it might make our viewers really sad that they're not invited.
Yep. Well, and it's something they can look forward to. They will get to see the food as we eat it. We actually are going to be doing some videos, reactions of that, the fights, as well as putting out some other content that we'll be talking about next show. But anyways, I think that's it for the show, right? Anybody who's watching us for the first time, you can check us out on YouTube, Sportsfans. It is as it's spelled. It's got a picture of all of us. You can see Mike's lovely face. Jason after he lost the pizza eating contest. Me trying to be a mascot, and then Brady just smiling because
I think we should have our picture of both of us losing that pizza eating contest because it wasn't just me that lost.
I know, but you were the
truth comes
look
out.
of sadness on your face, though. It was
it was sad. That was a lot of pizza, though.
That was a lot of pizza. Anyways, we're going to be signing off. We'll be doing our C-squared moment of the day to conclude. We're going to start things off with old Mike. Mike, what's your C-squared moment of the day?
I have no clue. I'm never prepared for these things. I have no idea. My C-squared moment of the day is just right now, Oklahoma State and Oklahoma kicked off for college basketball, a game. And I'm not going to be able to watch it, obviously, because I don't have TV, but I'm excited to see the result of that. I guess that's what I'll go with.
Mike, is it on ESPN?
I believe so.
I might be able to hook you up. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Brady. No, we'll go with Brady. Yeah, Brady, you go next.
All right. So for my C-squared moment of the day, I'm not even sure if it's the C-squared moment of the day, but I'm going to use this time. Actually, it's this way. I got to give a shout out to Kelly Fulmer. It's his birthday today, so thank you, Father, for commenting, and happy birthday. That's my C-squared moment of the day.
We need to come up with a creative birthday song now.
Oh, I definitely can't do that. Kellen would be the one for the creative birthday song.
You had a birthday today. Happy birthday. There you go.
Wow, Jason,
beautiful.
That was beautiful.
I know. Thanks. I go on tour next month.
Go next. Jason, you go next.
So my C-squared moment of the day is actually, it's I've been married to my wife for over 10 years now, but today I was super, not that I'm not usually, but I was super grateful of my choice. I was doing some exercise at the gym and my hamstring decided to just cramp up and it hurt really, really bad. And my wife is a massage therapist, and within 20 minutes, she had me feeling almost like brand new. So that's my C-squared moment of the day. My wife is awesome.
That's awesome. Ashley is awesome. Shout out to Deborah. That's my nickname.
Just shout out to the fans. Kellen is the only one that's allowed to say that. If you call her that, she will rip your face
Do not
off.
call her Deborah. She's a black belt.
Like, I can't even call her that.
Anyways, yeah, I love that.
All right.
My C-squared moment of the day just has to do with the fact that I live in Rock Springs, Wyoming, and most of the time when I go outside, I can just, plan on being miserable about the weather. And today, it was a spring day in Rock Springs, Wyoming. It was sunny, it was warm, and there was no wind. It was like going out and just enjoying a nice spring day in like April. So, I don't know. Maybe the month of March will be a good weather month for us. But I was happy.
Oh,
for
don't jinx it! Don't jinx it!
How dare you? How dare
March
you?
is the best month of the year.
March is the best month of the year. The best sports month of the year.
Yes.
Anyways, I think that's it. We're going to sign off again. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We will be sharing these videos obviously on Facebook. If you guys can pass the word along, we appreciate all the support we can get. So, signing off, this is the Crimson Comet.
Lazy Snake.
Prison Mike.
And the Bearded Wonder.
And remember, oh,
Gay.
Gee.